Hey, what's up guys? Tyler here with Secure Team. This is kind of a follow-up to my last video based around the Apollo moon missions, specifically Apollo 10. So if you didn't get a chance to see that video and all of the UFO and extraterrestrial strangeness within it, I'll put the link down below, or you can head over to the video section on my channel. And I also want to thank the monthly supporters of this channel who have become monthly members, as well as my supporters on Patreon who actually already got an early access sneak peek of this video yesterday. And for those supporters, I also informed them, and any of you watching right now, which I'm sure you are, that I'm holding another giveaway where 4 supporters, 2 on Patreon and 2 on YouTube memberships, will be selected randomly in a drawing for this really awesome identical newspaper reprint of the 1947 Roswell, New Mexico newspaper, with the headline discussing the flying saucer that went down in the desert 75 years ago, sparking this obsession into UFOs and aliens. It's an exact print and copy straight from the original negatives of the newspaper that was printed back in 1947. It's the exact size, width, and is printed on heavy gauge newspaper paper, newsprint. And so if any of you guys want to support monthly, it gives me really fun ways to give back to you guys besides posting these videos. So we have much more evidence in today's video of lunar anomalies, UFOs above and near the moon, and the space capsules on various different missions. But I want to start out with something that I just found literally 2 days ago while browsing NASA mission images. And so I was browsing around and I came across a photograph on the Christie's website that was actually being auctioned off. And I had been looking at strictly moon photos when I decided I wanted to look at photographs snapped during these moon missions back at planet Earth, and specifically the oldest photographs ever taken of the moon and planet Earth that I could still find. And so I came across this particular photo, among many others, snapped during NASA's Apollo 4 mission back on November 9th, 1967, of Earth looking beautiful. It has this vintage 1960s era coloring to it, and we have half of the Earth in shadow here. And so I started zooming in and just looking around. I love looking at space pictures and trying to find and reveal what is hidden within. And before we go further, in a lot of older footage and photographs, you are almost always going to have little, specks of dust or little tiny microscopic hairs that sometimes appear in the photos as a result of them being developed. The main thing that you will tend to see are little specks, little pinpoints, and what look like hairs. And so I started zooming in, as you're seeing here on the Christie's website, because you couldn't just downright download the image. I started looking around the darkness, and like most NASA photographs, I didn't expect to find anything without some sort of contrast correction to it. However, as I was looking around, I'm scanning, and I see, the typical specks of dust as we look to the upper right corner of the image, and you can see it even all the way zoomed out with no color correction. I discovered what appeared to be at least two UFOs that were lurking in the distance and the darkness right at the moment that this photo was snapped. And what piqued my interest even more is that because it's a color photo, these things have color. What appears to be a reddish, orangey, sort of fiery color. I would say red. And furthermore, they look to have dimension and depth to them, and light and shadow reflecting off of them. And as I said, there seems to be 2. And when analyzing them, these are not parts from the mission, because I looked up the mission. When zooming in, this one down below, which sort of has I guess you could call it a triangle type shape, but we really can't tell because you can actually see shadow on the object, the lower object. You can see the light hitting it, and the light would seem to match the position of the sun as it is being cast down and hitting the Earth. So we have this weird triangular thing out there in the darkness being lit up by sunlight, and then the second elongated, cigar-shaped object, also with the same sort of reddish, orangey color, maybe even brown. But nonetheless, these things are shiny, they've got shadows to them, which makes me think they obviously have structure and depth to them. The objects are in close proximity to one another, but way out in high Earth orbit, And then, just as an extra, and I don't know, but above it here, as you're seeing, there's this almost a perfect boomerang-shaped thing in the photo. Now, I don't know if that's a hair or not. If it is a hair, it would have to be very, 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 very tiny. I mean, even tinier than an eyelash. So, tell me what you guys think. Sometimes you don't have to do any image analysis or color correcting to see what is hidden within. You just have to look. Not everything is a speck of dust or a result of the developing of these photographs and film. In fact, to the contrary, I think that when you go back to my Apollo 10 video where I displayed what I believe to be a UFO shooting out of a crater, well, first you have to understand that NASA employs many different ways to cover up UFO activity in their footage. You know, in some moon footage, you will see no specks at all, almost as if it was shot today, whereas in other footage where they're panning the camera straight down to the lunar surface, you will suddenly see thousands of different dust specks appearing, flashes of blue, flashes of white, flashes of red, almost as if they were added there to cover up the movement being caught above the moon in these extremely old 16mm DAC film cameras, which, by the way, only shot at about 10 frames per second. Another thing you noticed in my last video on Apollo 10, in the very last anomaly clip, where they were heading over the moon and you see all of these blue specks of light appearing, and some people believe those are caused by radiation in space interacting with the film camera, and that's what those blue spots are, or some sort of defect in the development of the film. However, I can tell you one thing with regards to that last UFO at the end of my last video, which is that processing errors in film and photographs do not cast shadows down onto the lunar surface. Physical things above the moon cast shadows, and you're going to see some more of that in today's video. So I'm going to go through a couple of different random Apollo missions here. They're not in any particular order. I will start out with a couple of images from Apollo 10, which was the focus of my last video, and then I'll go ahead and show you some other evidence of not only UFOs casting shadows on the surface, but some other crazy, anomalous evidence and proof of strange activity happening on our moon throughout the Apollo missions, from UFOs and craft to structures and bases sitting in craters down on the lunar surface. So enough talking from me, let's get to it. Alright guys, so with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. I have so much more to show you guys. I'm gonna have to stretch it out over multiple videos. Follow my socials, everything is down in the video description, and I will see you all back in just a bit. Later guys.